All right, let's build out our player pool for DK this week. Very interested in this slate. Feel like all the way around, there's just a lot of guys that's a couple guys that stand out for me that I want to get exposure to. Some of it's hedging off of where I was, but there's games that I just want to target and target pretty heavily. So guys that I'm pretty interested in some game stacks and some double stacks that we're going to go over, some singles that we'll throw in there. Going to employ a similar set strategy from last week. So starting out quarterback position, core play number one is going to surprise 0 people. I'm going with the opinion that I have made a personal mistake not playing enough of this. So I'm going to make it so that my priors are either correct or I'm correct this week. Julian Sayin is going to be core play number one at 8,700. His projection is fine. His floor is great. Would I be shocked if we end up with a 14.9 out of him this week now that I'm finally going to play him after fading him largely for the entirety of the season? No, not at all. If I'm playing him double stacked. I don't even want to play him single stacked. I want all the pieces. The offense is flowing through him. He's the Heisman favorite at this point. Baby Piastri over here, looking solid. So if he can give me, I'm okay as long as he's north of 25. Anything north of 30, he's been 4x the last 2 weeks. If he can get me 4x, I'm very happy. Purdue, they're going to just wipe the floor with him. It's getting a little colder up there. He hasn't been a 0 in the rush game. No rushing touchdowns yet. I think we just go to the well here, say, hey, this is a floor slate. You know, we're kind of lacking those rushing upside guys right now. So I'm going to have, he's the guy I'm most confident in on this upper range. Similar to last week where I liked Mensa at 64 more than him. And Mensa paid out. Look, Mensa had 34 last week. So I was right. It's just from a value standpoint, there is not that lower end quarterback that I feel comfortable with to get volume. So Sayin ends up getting top billing in this spot. 8,700 is not cost prohibitive. There's plenty of value on this week. And I want to play Sayin doubles more often than not. So he gets core play status for me this week. Core play number 2, very similar vein, not a mobile guy, but he is playing out of his mind, and the defense matchup's impossible to ignore. 32-point team total. I loved Noah Fafita a couple years ago and was very high on him, especially with Tet McMillan. He was a great stack of him and Tet, but last year he was absolutely awful. He's rebounded. He's playing very well right now. He's really efficient. In games where he's going to get pushed, he's going to play even better. I think this is a spot that we can really buy into what Fafita can do here against Kansas, where they could get pushed against a bad defense. So 300 yards and 3 touchdowns does not seem out of the realm of possibility. Kansas doesn't particularly get after the quarterback. Fafita, not mobile, so don't expect rushing, although Kansas State, he had 48 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. I would not expect that. I think you're in the positive 6 range. Just trying to avoid negatives is fine. And anything in that 25 to 28 range, we're happy with. He has upside for plenty more. Okay stack partners, but he spreads it around, so he's very difficult to double stack. You can do it. You got to hit it right. I hit it right last week. I don't know that you can hit it right every week with this team. I would anticipate trying to get 1 at least with him and hope you hit, but 2 is in play given that they are fairly cheap on that side. Last core play, and it's probably my favorite quarterback of the week. I'm going to be heavily invested. Colorado is absolutely terrible. You saw what Fafita did to him last week. Scotty Fox is playing too good, and in a Rich Rod system, he has rush upside. He played terrible against TCU from a running standpoint, but he still threw for 302. So if I'll take either of these games, 21 and 28 at 6,200, I'm perfectly happy with that. So he's by far and away the best quarterback sub 7K. And value wise, he's right there with from Fafita from a points per dollar projection. So I like Scotty Fox at home taking on a Colorado team that has likely quit on this season. They got a 31-point team total. I really do like Scotty Fox, and I will play a lot of Scotty Fox as a core play because he's the best low dollar quarterback. I mean, you're talking Ashton Daniels, Juju Lewis, like guys that are going to get replaced are down here. And then Gronowski is a tough sell for me. So, like, if you really look at it, Scotty Fox is by far and away the best quarterback in this low end range to look to. My top GPP option. So I think the guy with the most ceiling, and you would think I might go Greek Rifle after last week. Probably not, though. It's not my thing. I think he's in play for double stacks, but not necessarily a guy that I'm going to trend to. I'm going to go to the other side of that game. He's played awful since the start of this season. He has some rushing upside. He's a freshman. He hit the freshman wall. I think that's what happened. You know, Indiana, tough matchup. I'll discount that. UCLA on the road, played okay, not great. Nebraska, tougher matchup. Washington, tougher matchup. But if we look back, this Rutgers team is probably one of, if not the worst defense in the country for a P4 team. So if there's ever a team that I'm going to try to take advantage of, with a kid that I think is one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the country, not getting talked about enough. I think he throws for 250 plus, multiple scores. He's thrown for a touchdown in every game. And I think he has upside for 50 yards rushing and a touchdown. So his ceiling is one of the best on the slate. Now, he's priced at 7,700. If he was 6,700, he's a core play. He's just priced a little bit more than I'd want. He's my worst points per dollar quarterback in this group, but I think it suppresses his ownership in a matchup that it should not be suppressed. So I want pieces against Rutgers. I've been picking on Rutgers now for a few weeks. So Luke Altmaier was a core play for me on FanDuel last week. He delivered with 4 touchdowns and a massive line. Maryland, not the best rushing team. So I like Malik Washington a ton in this spot to go north of 20, potentially have his best game of the season here, and I'll be heavily invested. I think you see multiple scores easily out of him. So I'm very, very interested in Malik Washington. Rest of the pool, these guys are so expensive that they're hard to play for me, given what they do. Like the matchup sucks for Pavia. Mensa is basically Julian Sayin, but without the same floor. Mendoza's probably missing Surratt. He's facing Penn State on the road. It feels very much like an Iowa game where they ended up, he plays okay, but not great. He's priced high. Fagnano, very similar. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm interested, but I feel like those are guys that I'm willing to take shots on, but they're not my high-end guys that I'm looking for. Hoover, I don't love the match. It's just he's very hard to stack. The guys he plays with he's just so hit or miss. I just rather play Sayin. So that's where those guys just aren't in the pool for me. By comparison, I am going on lesser entries, right? 20 max, yes, I'm going to be getting to all of these guys. I'm going to have Gunnar Stockton in my pool. I actually do like him at 8,300. I don't think he reaches core status, but he's close. His rushing floor keeps him in play. Mississippi State has given up points left, right, and center. It's a really good matchup for him. Can they push him enough? I don't know. That's the concern, right? Do they end up just blowing them out? You get a an Auburn game style, a Florida game where he's in the 17 range, or do you get up in the 30s? So I think there's plenty of options to get there. I don't mind going here at 83. He's perfectly acceptable, and I don't mind him one bit. I will be playing some Gunnar Stockton. He's got rushing capability and a good floor from that. Now, the guy that I can't decide on, and I felt irresponsible not putting him in here because he's the highest projected quarterback on the week. He's got the best points per dollar projection of the week. It's Marcel Reed. I feel irresponsible not putting him in the freaking pool. But at the same time, I don't want to play him. I don't think this Missouri matchup's particularly good. It's on the road. They've played 3 road games in a row now. You're talking at Arkansas, at LSU, now at Missouri. So 3 straight road games. He's performed great in all of them. I expected against Arkansas. I don't necessarily expect a 40 burger against LSU. Now, LSU has struggled with running quarterbacks for a couple years now. Mississippi State, I expect I expect more out of him than in that Mississippi State performance. This just feels like a letdown spot for me. They played Pavia very well, and Pavia I would compare favorably to Reed in this spot. From the same instance, Missouri's going to have to run the football and be careful. So what Pavia did against Missouri, I think compares favorably. 10 of 19 for $129 and no touchdowns, 8 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown. So Marcel Reed, I think, could easily end up in like a 20 range. But 8,200, I think he ends up coming in massively owned because of what he's done and because he's going to project so well. I just don't like Marcel Reed, the player. Maybe this ends up being the Ohio State blind spot from this week, and I end up getting there some just because to cover myself. Excuse me. I just get the feeling that it's a bad spot for him. I don't think Missouri can push them, but I also think Missouri can play enough defense to hold them back. I'm not. It's. I'm going to end up wrestling with this all week, and knowing that I need to get some there, but I don't like it. I don't like it. If I was taking a hard line stance, and I probably won't play him in my high dollar stuff. I probably won't play him in my single entry stuff. I'll probably just avoid him altogether for the most part, except for a few teams um, in 20 max. But I don't. I think Marcel Reed comes in more owned than I would want to play him personally. Running back spot's fun, very fun. LJ Martin sounds like he's going to play. I do not like the top end at all. So I will not have a share outside of a game stack of Duke UConn. I will not have a share of a single guy above 7K. Top core play for me, top raw projected play for me. I think it's a great slate. I think it's a great, great slate. Yeah, I'm going to be playing I'm going to be playing my Saturday kickoff, and it can be a frustrating one, but you take shots, Antoine Raymond is my top projected back on the week. They had a terrible game script last week. Every time the game script gets out of control, he's not a great play. But he can catch balls from the Greek rifle if they get behind a little bit. And if they get out in front, which they could in a Maryland game, I think this game's close either which way. I would expect 20 plus points out of him. And at 6,600, he's a glaring value. He very much so has the capability to have a 150 plus 2 touchdown game, similar to this Minnesota spot. This is very similar. Purdue, very similar spot, right? You could see 30 touches here. Now, he had some bad touchdown luck in this one to only end up with 23. I'll take anything over 20. I have no issues with it. Raymond's a very good player, especially on volume. So I expect them to run the football on Maryland, given they're at home. I love this play. He's definitely my favorite play over 6K, and it's not particularly close. Second core play, and I think he's going to be extremely popular. I think the differential is getting this gentleman with Scotty Fox is your differentiator. I think a lot of people aren't going to want to play a running back and a quarterback together because they do not help each other. But the fact is Colorado sucks. And I mentioned it with Scotty Fox. Well, if Dior Hubbard's going to get me 29 carries, yeah, this backfield is absolutely toasted. Hubbard's got a touchdown in 4 of the last 5. This backfield has been whittled away just consistently. They have lost virtually everybody with Jaheim White out, Ty Edwards out, now Ash out. It has left Bowers, who's meh. He's a meh play. And Hubbard. Now, Hubbard's got touchdown equity, and he's getting more carries. So I'm going to lean on Hubbard. And I think Hubbard has a big game here at home taking on Colorado. And at 4,800, he is a top play to fit in to lineups. And I will have a ton in this spot. Last core play. Y'all know this. I talked about it. I said he was going to be a core play on the First Look show. Jacoby Williams is far too cheap at 5K. His projection does not equal the reality of what he can do. So I'm going to buy that he comes in under-owned by comparison to what he's projected at. His pass catching ability gives him a unique capability to add points in a variety of ways. And against the BYU team that is decent stopping the run, I think that hurts Dickey more than it hurts Williams. So, Myron, you can, I'm not touching. I am not touching Penn State backs. I just can't. I can't do it. Indiana, I think, is one of the top run defenses. That is a staple of Cignetti. Going back to JMU is having one of the top run defenses in the country. So, core plays for me, Raymond, Hubbard, and Jacoby Williams. Now, let's speak to that thing because I do want to show you what Carson Hansen was able to do against BYU. So we talked about how BYU is against stopping the run. They're actually pretty decent. Carson Hansen had 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it's not infallible. I will say that. Top GPP options for me. So these guys are going to be pivots off of that Hubbard-Williams range. Number 1, and it's pretty clear, I'm going to pick on this. I love this Rutgers-Maryland game. I don't know that it goes under-owned, but it could. DeJuan Williams is really good, and he's explosive, and he catches the football really well. Nolan Ray is going to get touches. DeJuan Williams has been terrible on the ground from a yards per carry standpoint, but the touches are there. I think you could get 20 points here as well. He's a great pivot off of Jacoby Williams, or they're both great pivots, let's say, off of Dior Hubbard. I don't mind going here. Specifically, if you want to get a Rutgers double, I'd bring it back with DeJuan Williams. And if you're going game stack, I think there's better ways to game stack it. I'm going to game stack it both ways, both from Maryland side and the Rutgers side. I'm going to game stack it. I don't like going double QB in a game, but I will probably do 3 game stacks to that one. But we'll cover game stacks in a minute. On the Georgia side, I think last GPP option, I like Chauncey Bowens here. Mississippi State struggling, just absolutely struggling. I think Bowens is explosive enough that they need to give him more work. I think he's a pivot off of what will be a lot more popular Hubbard, Williams, and Bowen, and both Williams, both Dewan and Jacoby Williams. So I have interest in Bowens here. I think he's a good pivot option because I think more action goes to Bo Jackson. Action, Bo Jackson. Speaking of Bo Jackson, he's going to be in the pool as well. We haven't seen the ceiling game. He's a great pivot off of the Ohio State passing attack. It just feels like there's eventually going to be a week where he rushes for 150 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then the quarterback and wide receiver combo doesn't get there. So I will play that way as well. We know Ohio State's going to score a ton of points. It's just a matter of who gets them and how they spread them around. So I will play some Bo Jackson to try to get a little different in some spaces, but that's more 20 max than it is high entry, single entry for me. Other players in the pool, I think you keep Hansen in there. He's a good pivot off of Antoine Raymond. I don't like TCU's run defense. It's not particularly effective for me. I was high on Bryson Washington the week that they played them. He ended up getting hurt. He's been hurt all year. So I have interest in Carson Hansen, especially because Abu Sama's been banged up and they're really leaning on Hansen right now. So I don't mind it. He is an awful projection. He's going to be extremely low owned. So you can get there. I think that's a 20 max play more than it is a high single entry stuff. Otherwise, Cam Edwards is good exposure to this game because he's going to get you 15 to 20 touches. And Duke's good against the run. So I would limit it here to limit entries and things like that. I don't love the play. I'm okay with the play. We saw last week Adam Randall rip off a few and get a couple touchdowns. So there is no doubt that he could easily have a 70 plus 2 touchdown game. Edwards is a decent player, but not a guy that I'm going to feature a ton. He does project fairly decent, right in that same range as Bo Jackson for sure. Last of the pool, and it's kind of if I'm searching for value, I think Anderson Castle is just a game stack play. Kedrick Riscano, he scored in 3 straight. Kansas not particularly good. I would much rather play Riscano than Ishmael Mahdi. I have minimal interest here. I don't know that I'm going to end up here, but I will keep him in the pool. Hubbard is just such a better play than Riscano but I'll be interested. The Oregon guys are the one that I'm still trying to understand what I want to do. Because, yes, Iowa, good run defense. I still trust Oregon, though. I don't go away from Oregon just because they're playing Iowa. Now, Whittington would be a preferred option for me. You can see what Whittington did against Rutgers, by the way, for that DeJuan Williams play. I'd rather just get to DeJuan Williams because he could do a line like that. Or do I want Jordan Davison? So Davison's getting more of the goal line work. I think his touchdown upside's a lot better. And at 4,300, if I had to go sub 45 or I couldn't get to the 48 of Hubbard or the 5K of Bowen of Williams or the 2 Williamses, I think Davison's probably my preferred play over Whittington at 43. And I don't mind jamming him in. He's played great lately. And he's kind of the younger thumper. You saw when they ended up playing in a, weather impacted game, they went heavily to Davison. I like this kid. I'd be interested at 43. He'd be the guy that I want to get to there. All right. Wide receiver wise, top play on the slate for me. You'd think I was going to live in one of these three because I've hyped these three all year long. It's number 4, though. Skylar Bell transferred from Wisconsin to UConn. Duke cannot stop a nosebleed on the back end. Skylar Bell is the top play on the slate, and it's not close. If they get pushed in this one, he could have 10 to 15 catches. You saw what he did against Boston College. I mean, look at what he's done all year. He's scored in, 6 straight? I mean, he's got 100 plus, 125 plus in 3 straight. I think 100 yards with a touchdown is easily in range. He projects as the best points per dollar play on the entire slate, and it's not particularly close. So I'm going to have a ton, and it's going to be hard for me not to just lock him in this spot. And he's going to be featured very heavily. Core play number 2. The price discrepancy between Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate does not make a ton of sense, given that Carnell Tate has reached higher ceilings for most of the year. Teams are trying to take away Jeremiah Smith, and that just opens it up for Carnell Tate. So Carnell Tate's a core play. I'm going to have plenty of lineups with Jeremiah and Carnell Tate. I am not playing Myron. I'm not touching Elijah Surratt this week. I don't think he plays this week. That's my personal opinion. We're going to get to him. We're going to get to that team and their wide receiver situation pretty quickly here. Carnell Tate is a great play. He projects great. He's going to be highly owned. I'll play him. I got no issues going there. I love Skylar Bell. I like Carnell Tate. They are 2 of the 2 best points per dollar plays on this entire slate. So the third core play it was a debate. It was a full-on debate. There's not a guy that super stands out down low for me. So I'm going to buy my priors and say that I don't think Rutgers is very good. And I'm going to say I'm going to buy into I'm rebuying stock in Shalik Knots. Started the year extremely strong, and that coincided with Malik Washington playing well with a touchdown in the first 4 games, 2 of 5 over that span. And he ran into a rough patch when he had to play Wisconsin, Nebraska, or Washington, Nebraska, and at UCLA. But even then, he wasn't bad. He just wasn't finding the end zone and reaching the same numbers he was at. So he's by far and away my favorite play on the Maryland side of the passing attack. I do like DeJuan Williams a good bit. But Knotts is my top wide receiver for Maryland. Big wide receiver. He had 1 target last week against Indiana. Did not play good at all. I think people are going to stay away from him because against UCLA, he had 14 targets. Yes, he only had 3 catches, but 14 targets, 6 targets against Nebraska. He's 6'3". I like the size in this matchup. I want pieces of this Maryland offense. I'm going to play Shalik Knots. I'm calling him a core play. He's not what I normally would recommend, but he's a guy that I think is going to end up going well past his ceiling in this spot, and he has 20-plus point upside. There's plenty of good plays around him. He's not my traditional core play. The top 2 are going to get played a lot more. He's a guy that if I can fit him in and I'm in that range, I'm going to mix and match a little bit, but he's my preferred option in that 4K range. I do not like a lot of guys under 4K. They're going to have to be game stack plays for me to get there. GPP options. Myron mentioned Elijah Surratt. I don't think Elijah Surratt plays in this one. I think it's a hamstring. They probably sit him out this week. They don't need him against Penn State. So I watched a good bit, painfully, of that Ohio State-Penn State game last week. I had people that I know who don't watch crazy amounts of games and analyze them like I do. that were texting me in the middle of that game going, good Lord, Penn State can't cover anybody deep. Did they not understand you need to cover deep? Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate were just running free constantly. So that tells me Omar Cooper is going to be a monster this week. I think he's your top GPP option. Myron's got half of the stack that I'm interested in. Mendoza Cooper is fun. I think it's in play. But I think there's a different way to play it around it. So we'll touch on that in a minute. But I think Omar Cooper is a fabulous pivot play off of Skylar Bell or with Skylar Bell even. If you want to play the Indiana double, I think it's in play. I like Omar Cooper as my top GPP play. I think all the ownership goes to Bell and Tate, and then if they could get to Jeremiah, they will. But I think it's a lot of Bell, Tate, and then another guy that's going to kind of be up in the air. Probably a Rutgers wide receiver. But Cooper, I think, goes under-owned and has the upside to take down a GPP, especially without Surratt being in the lineup or fully healthy. So I think Omar Cooper's a great play. I don't think anybody's going to want to play Colorado guys. And like I mentioned, I love Shalik Knots in that range. And there's a ton of options in that 4,500 to 4,900 range that I think get a ton of exposure and it gets spread out. From a upside standpoint, I think it's hard to argue that no matter who's playing quarterback for Colorado, Omarion Miller is going to get passes thrown his way. It doesn't matter who it is. West Virginia can't defend the pass. And if anybody's going to do it, it's Omarion Miller. We've seen him for, in previous years when Travis Hunter would be out or other guys were out. Omarion Miller, heck of a player. So he's probable for West Virginia. I really do think he keeps getting targets and Dion keeps force feeding him. And he'll have the option to transfer to somewhere else at the end of the year. At 4,800, I think he's a great pivot option. He's my second favorite play in that range, but there's a lot of very good plays in that range. So getting that 45 to 4,900 range right is going to be imperative. I like Knotts a ton. I like Miller a lot as a bring back for the West Virginia side. If it gets funky, Miller's the only guy I'm willing to play on Colorado. And as long as West Virginia gets out into a big lead with the quarterback running back combo, I think Miller's a great way to stack that in there. So the rest of the pool here, Jeremiah obviously is going to be in the pool. I'm going to play a ton of Ohio State doubles. Jeremiah is a great play. The deflected touchdown just broke my heart. But alas, he has a massive ceiling. Good floor. He's not going to kill you. We don't have those expensive running backs to pay up for, so I think paying for wide receiver is the right move here. If you want to take shots on McAllister, I wouldn't blame you. Iowa State's whole secondary is banged up. Their whole defense is banged up. So you want to take shots, go right ahead. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. He's just not my favorite play in the upper range, but I do think you're going to need exposure in 20 max, no doubt about it. Maybe you get exposure, but I prefer Bell in this range for me, and I would rather pay for Jeremiah to an extent. Similar story for Cooper Barkate. I think you got to keep him in play. UConn, I love game stacks in this one, but it is very cost prohibitive to try to stack the Duke side. Now, you can go Barkate, Mensa, and a low-end guy, but Shepard's also in there at 82. They priced Duke up for a good reason. I don't know that it's still wrong to play Duke. I also don't know that it's wrong to play, Barkate by himself with Bell and then just avoid the quarterbacks trying to hit on some cheaper value at quarterback. So there's optionality there. No doubt about it. I would, like I said, I'd much rather spend up for wide receiver than I would spend up for running backs, period. All right. Other way in the pool elsewhere. We've got my. I debated keeping Ian Strong in the pool, but I think KJ Duff's the best option for Rutgers. If I'm playing, there's two different ways that I want to play Rutgers. One is Callie Manis with Duff and Strong, and the other way is Raymond with one of the wide receivers. I don't fault you if you go Strong, but Duff is playing so well that I have a hard time fading KJ Duff in this spot. This game is without Ian Strong. Ian Strong may be still banged up for this Illinois game. I think they put up a ton of points on Maryland, so both could get there. I prefer Duff of the two, but I don't know that Strong's not a bad play. 100%, because he's more likely to go for 100 yards. If I have the 400, I'm fine paying it to get Strong. I want to split that ownership, but I'm just saying from a projection wise, I'm going to prefer Duff just a hair, given what he's been able to do for the entirety of the season. Elsewhere, preferred stack option with Fafita is Chris Hudson. He just gets so much more volume than the rest of the guys, but he's also cost a lot more than the other guys. He's my preferred option. That's not to say that I love it, but I will go to him first. And I mean, Tate's right there, which is just nobody's going to be on Hudson. Nobody. So that's going to give me a little bit of an edge there if I end up stacking that. When I end up stacking that. So Myron mentioned Williams, EJ Williams. I'm not willing to go there. It's too expensive for what I believe is a tertiary weapon in this offense. If Surratt's out, let's just say Surratt ends up being announced out. I like Cooper by far and away the most. He's going Cooper Williams. I think we go Cooper Brady. Now, he hadn't done anything all year, basically. A lot of that is due to the fact that he's the fourth wide receiver, and there's Surratt, Cooper, and EJ Williams getting fed in front of him, Riley Nowakowski. He hadn't done anything. What I do know and what I do trust is Jonathan Brady played with Mendoza last year and played okay with some other decent weapons on the field. So I remember that. I stored it in the old back of the bank here. And at 3,200, if you're telling me he's going to be on the field with Elijah Surratt off the field, I'd be tempted to say Brady's a core play at 3,200. He's by far my favorite sub 4K option if Surratt is announced out. So I would go Brady, but that's just buying into priors, and that can be dangerous. If my priors are wrong, it's dangerous. But I would buy Jonathan Brady, and he would be a double stack partner for me of Cooper's, Brady, and Mendoza. That's kind of where I would end up in that spot. So I mentioned this low 5K, upper 4K range. Parker Kingston, he's in play because he gets so much volume with that Puka Nacua role. I do worry about how well they play against. Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%, Myron. I think we just have a slightly different philosophy on who the one and the two are, or who the two is going to be. Yeah, I think I completely agree. I just prefer Brady to Williams in that spot because it's going to allow me some extra oomph in different areas. That's just me buying into something that I know from previous and what I've seen before. Not that it is actually going to work. It very well could. It could end up being a blind spot that I'm off of EJ Williams. Kingston's playing very well. He's got that track speed. I still think Texas Tech's defense is really good. There is moderate concern that Kingston slips on a tortilla when this game starts and we lose him like Jimmy Horn last year. But we'll see. I think Kingston's in the pool at 5,300 is very good price on him. He's playing particularly well, so I'm interested. I don't love it, but I'm interested. Zachariah Branch, I keep thinking he's going to break a long one. Still hasn't. But man, from a PPR standpoint, it is impossible to argue with starting with 10 points, 8 points, 9 points before he ever touches a football. Yeah, or before he ever gets a yard. He starts with double-digit points before he gets a yard. All the offense is flowing through him right now. He's a great play. I think a lot of people are going to be on this. I think he's going to end up being a core play, similar to like Jacob DeJesus was last week. Granted, I was off of it and it worked out well. I'm on Branch. I really do like this play at 5,100. It's very difficult not to get there. I still think he's going to break a 70-yarder at some point. So if I'm playing Stockton, I'm playing Branch with him. It's a lot guaranteed. I love that stack together, that single bring back, that single stack. I don't love it with any other wide receiver on that team. Next best would be Dylan Bell, but he can't catch. So it's Branch, and I do like Branch a lot. I like him more than Kingston. Coming down further, if I'm playing Marcel Reed, it's going to be with Mario Craver. Hasn't showed the ceiling lately, but it's there. And he's absolutely electric with the ball in his hands. He showed it in the early portion of the season, showed it against Mississippi State. So maybe that's where we're buying into that Zach Branch game. Maybe he and Zach Branch can get 23 points. They're very similar builds, very similar players. So Craver would be my top option on that team if I'm playing Marcel Reed. Otherwise, I'm avoiding. I'm just avoiding it. We talked about Omarion Miller. We talked about Shalik Knots. So that's going to lead to, where is he? Oh, that's on the late slate. I was wondering why I was like, where's Vernell Brown? I got him on here, but I added him manually. That was on the FanDuel slate. I was looking at because the wide receivers for Florida are a shambles right now. Okay, well, that works out. Good. That's one less player in the pool. 4,500. This was borderline core for me. So I don't think Texas. I think Texas Tech is going to stop the run completely. He is in the first lineup that I've built. I like the Georgia side of it. I'm afraid of the Mississippi State side. I agree that Mississippi State's defense or Georgia's defense is not good, specifically on the ground. I just think those guys are priced up too much. That's my concern with it. Is it's priced up too much. I do have minimal interest in the Mississippi State side, but I'm also worried about the Mississippi State can get there and disappoint you all at the same time. It's just weird. Chase Roberts, I like, and I will say, like I said, he was close to core play consideration for me. From a points per dollar standpoint, he's right there with Bell and Tate. It's just you wouldn't know it. And I think with them having to throw the ball more, I don't think we're going to see a 4 for 161 style game here. It's going to have to be volume based. I would expect something in the 5 for 84, and you hope he finds the end zone to get you 19. But with the volume, they're going to have to throw the football. I think Chase Roberts is a very good play. I prefer him to Kingston. I have him in my first lineup. He's a very good like combo. The first lineup I built in single entry, I'm going to be playing in single entry. It gets basically everything that I want, except I couldn't get Shalik Knots. I was 200 away, and Roberts is the one guy that fits. The only other option at that price range is to go Quayshawn Brown. I like him in this matchup. I don't love him. I'm fine with it. He can be disappointing, but he does have ceiling. He's a very odd bird to try to figure out. He's frustrated me. I played him a good bit last week. It paid. I played him the week before. Didn't pay. I played him that week. I've played him a ton, and he's helped me and he has hurt me. I do have interest in Quayshawn Brown. I think he's more expensive than I wish he was, though. So I will take shots, but I don't love it. All right. Last three guys in the pool here. Y'all know I can't help myself. Chase Sewell is getting targets. So last time out, he got 12 targets. He only got 2 targets against BYU. I don't know what to do with him. Like every time I think he turns a corner, he sucks. Every time he sucks, then he reels me back in with 12 targets. He's the best wide receiver on this offense. It's not close. TCU cannot get pressure on Rocco, so he's going to get work. I'm interested. I feel like I have to go there. I will go there a little bit if I'm in that range. Now, I probably prefer to get here. I think Samir Hagans is a good play. Yes, he was buoyed last week on a return touchdown. Yes, he got a 2-point conversion. That's 8 of those points. The volume is decent. I like the 3 catches. They did draw up that red zone play for him for the 2-point conversion. He's explosive. So I'm going to be in on Hagans. I probably prefer him to Quayshawn Brown. The floor is pretty good. At 3,600, he buys me some room. I'm interested there. And then finally, as a punt play, if I need to get somewhere and I need an extra piece to pair with my Fafita, I'm going Trey Spivey. Just because the man feels like he has no volume. He scored on like the first possession of the game last week and had 2 targets total. And that was it. But he just has all the makings of Kobe Prentice early in the year. Kansas absolutely terrible on defense. I don't mind him as a cheap way to get exposure to Arizona here. It takes 1 touch, and he can get you 12 to 15. I don't love it, but I'm okay doing it. Like I said, if we find out Surratt's out, I prefer Brady. Could go Nowakowski, actually. That'd be interesting, but I'm not super interested. The ceiling's not there. Noah Thomas. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with that. So let's look at these game stack wise. Game stack wise, I like 4 games to stack for the most part. Myron's big on this one. I'm a little concerned about the quarterbacks from Mississippi State. So the only way to get there would be to go with I don't like the prices on Booth and Bothwell. They're too expensive for me. I'm okay with the Evans and Thompson, but that's where my optionality gets extremely limited in a actual game stack situation. So we talked about this one. That was kind of like it's like a smaller secondary piece to a game stack. Love the doubles here. Love the doubles for Indiana and Ohio State. No problems with that. Rutgers, Maryland, I think there's 3 ways to play it. I think you play Malik Washington and then Raymond. I think you can play DeJuan Williams with Washington because he catches the ball so well. I think you play Shalik Knotts. And then I think you play KJ Duff or Ian Strong. And then that leaves you with that. That's one way. That is a way that I will play it. No problem there whatsoever. If I'm playing Washington, I'm going to double him like that. You can also play it without Raymond and say that the pass games go off. And then you play Ian Strong as well. And you play it this way. You get double on the way back. I like that as well. And then you can also play it from the standpoint that let's just say you don't want to play Knotts. You want to play Williams with double. I'm perfectly happy playing it this way as well. So multitude of ways to play that game. I think I'm going to play it 3 different ways, and I kind of like it actually all the way around. Next game that I'm looking at is Kansas, Arizona. I don't mind playing both quarterbacks. If I play both quarterbacks, I'm going to want to get Hudson probably, and then you'll have to figure out like Watley doesn't get Watley gets enough touches that you're safer with him, but I would prefer just to go get Spivey for the cheap. And then Bowden Grown, I'm okay with. He's not getting a super amount of targets, but he's fine. I like Henderson. I don't mind Pickett. So there's shots to be had there. You could get Highshaw. You could get Riscano. They're all weird. This is a weird game to try to game stack. I will have some of it, but I don't love it. It's definitely not my favorite game to play around with. It's definitely number 4 out of 4 in the spot. This one, I will have some Hoover. My favorite way to do this one is Hoover, Hanson, McAllister, Sowell, and then we'll see what works out. So, like if Manjack's out, I'll like Small. It'll just depend. But if I have to, this is like the simplest way for me to play it. Perfectly happy with this. Otherwise, I don't mind playing it the same way and then just throwing my guy Rocco in like that. I don't mind playing it that way either. So both ways perfectly viable for me. That's game 3. Rutgers, Maryland, I think is one with a bullet based on the pricing and the potential. And then Duke, UConn, it starts and stops with Skylar Bell for sure. I think you go Hagens, Barkate. Let's see, Hagens, Barkate. I like getting Edwards here and Mensa. So that would be one way to do it, in my opinion. I don't mind this at all. This will be a good shell. You're going to have to pay down for like a 4,800 running back here. So you'll have to go get your Dior Hubbard. I think you go Dior Hubbard, Scotty Fox, and I bet you're perfectly happy with where you're at because that gets you to 5,800. Yeah. So, yeah, you can get Dior Hubbard. You could go Jacoby Williams with the other spot. You could go Carnell Tate with that spot. Yeah, there's plenty of good options there. So yeah, you can work this in. This gives you a ton of exposure to that as well. You can also go skinny stack with Fagano, or Fagnano, and you could say, hey, I'm just going to go skinny stack here. You can say, hey, I want Nate Shepard, whatever. You could do this and make it work. Or you could go down from Barkate to a Hagens or a Quayshawn Brown to get you some more viability there. But pretty easily, you can game stack this thing. I would not play both of the quarterbacks more than likely because they just both are going to struggle by comparison. Prefer the Mensa side to the Fagnano side. Fagnano just does not run enough, and all of his volume goes through Skylar Bell. So very difficult to play any of the other UConn pass game pieces because like Juice Vereen, Romello Murphy, they just don't get the volume. All of the volume goes through Skylar Bell. I mean, Vereen scored in 3 straight, but he's 4,400. It's kind of like playing Samir Hagens or Trace Spivey at 4,400, which I wouldn't want to do. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at this right now. That's where I feel good at. And I'll start building some of this stuff and we'll kind of see where we're going to be on the high entry stuff on Saturday when we go through it. And then I got to make my player pool for FanDuel, trying to narrow that down. Definitely an interesting slate on there. So gotta figure. Number one thing to figure out is who's starting at running back for Miami. Is it Sharmar Brown or Jordan Lyle? I prefer Brown, but we'll have to wait and see. They project pretty similar based off of just raw data, but we don't have a lot of data without Mark Fletcher. So, all right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Good luck with the slate tonight. It is interesting, but not super great. I'm kind of hoping Memphis will take a loss to Tulane so that I don't have to worry about Memphis being in front of my Dukes anymore. So good luck, everybody, in your slate tonight. Start building for this weekend, and we will go over everything on